Nobody in Alder Creek thought Marcus Reyes would last long running a woodshop alone with his son. Too plain, too careful, too easily overlooked. So when Renata Cole, owner of a regional furniture chain and a woman known for flattening anyone smaller than her, decided to teach him a lesson, she picked his front lot as the stage. 15 broken, water-damaged, half-rotted antique cabinets and dressers showed up overnight. A gift from Renata and her people, meant as a joke, meant to bury him in cost and humiliation. What Renata didn't know was what Marcus had spent 12 years hiding. Not just how to restore wood, but how to read the people who tried to break him. Marcus Reyes woke at 5:15 every morning without needing a clock. He moved through the house in the same order every day: coffee, then eggs on the stove, then 2 soft knocks on the door at the end of the hall. His son Theo, 8 years old, always answered the same way. A mumble, a creak of the mattress, then a small figure appearing in the doorway with his hair standing on one side. Their place on Birch Hollow Lane was a low farmhouse with a long gravel drive and a workshop out back that held more clamps and chisels than furniture. The neighbors who'd been there a while knew Marcus kept quiet, paid on time, and never made noise about anything. The newer ones just assumed there was nothing to know. Neither was quite right. Marcus had come to Alder Creek 9 years earlier, after his wife Elena died, looking for a place slow enough that grief wouldn't have to compete with anything. He'd taken a job repairing furniture at a strip mall shop on Route 4, work that paid the bills and asked nothing else of him. Theo had inherited his father's habit of watching before speaking, and a memory that filed away details other kids let slide. The workshop told a different story to anyone who knew how to look. Along the back wall, a pegboard held tools worn smooth in the exact places a hand would grip them. On the bench sat a wooden case, dovetailed and dark with age, that had belonged to Marcus's grandfather, a furniture restorer in Manila before the family moved. Theo wasn't allowed to open it, though he sat on the bench beside it most evenings while his father worked. On a Thursday in September, Marcus's neighbor Dale showed up with 2 coffees and news. Renata Cole's company, Cole and Vance Furnishings, had been buying up the storefronts along Route 4 for a flagship showroom, and the last holdout was the corner lot, Marcus's shop. Marcus listened, said he wasn't selling, and that was that. Renata Cole had built her company the way some people build fences, to keep things out as much as to mark what was hers. She'd taken one struggling furniture store from her mother and turned it into a 6-location chain doing $30 million a year, mostly by finding exactly where someone else's patience ran out. Her office on the top floor of the Cole and Vance building had glass walls and framed write-ups from trade magazines arranged like a timeline of things going her way. She had Theo's father investigated. The report came back thin: restorer, single father, no debts, no ambition anyone could find. Renata didn't buy it. She told her assistant, Priya, that a man with nothing to lose was usually hiding something he wasn't willing to lose. She told Priya to arrange something less official than an offer letter. What followed took 4 moving trucks, a warehouse liquidation contact, and a county code officer who owed Renata a favor. 15 pieces were pulled from an estate sale reject pile and a flooded storage unit 2 towns over. Furniture already written off, tagged as damage beyond repair in every official record. The whole operation cost under $3,000. It was unloaded onto Marcus's gravel lot before 6 in the morning, each piece tagged free. Take it away in handwriting meant to look like his own mess, spilling out for anyone driving past to see. Marcus came outside for the paper and stood at the edge of the porch a long time. Theo appeared beside him, still in pajamas, and asked if somebody had given them furniture. Dale came jogging over, having watched the trucks the night before without knowing what to do about it. By 8, someone had posted a photo to the town group chat with a caption that got more laughs than it deserved. A woman across the street shook her head at her mailbox. Nobody knocked to ask if he needed help. By noon, Marcus had a notice from the town code office. Clear this storage violation within 21 days or face fines and a lien review. He read it at the kitchen table while Theo finished his cereal, folded it into the drawer with the electric bill, and went out to the workshop with a flashlight. He walked the row slowly, running his hand along each frame, checking joints, tapping wood to hear how it answered. He spent longest at a water-stained armoire near the end, dismissed by whoever donated it as a lost cause. He stood in front of it for a long time before going back inside. That night, he called a woman named Yuki in Portland, an appraiser he'd trained under years before. He described each piece, joinery, with species, hardware, or pattern, with the same calm precision he'd bring to anything. He was on the 12th piece when Yuki asked him to describe the armoire again. There was a pause on the line. She asked if the maker's mark was legible. He said he'd already found it and photographed it, and that it matched a workshop that had closed in 1911 and made maybe 200 pieces in its whole run. In the morning, he pulled the first piece into the shop, a simple oak sideboard, and had it re-glued, refinished, and re-hinged in 2 days. He listed it for $650, and it sold within the hour. A mid-century credenza took 3 days, and a new set of tambour rails. It went for $1,100. Dale helped where he was told to, mostly holding things steady, trusting a process he didn't fully understand. Renata got a report from Priya on Friday. 2 pieces sold. She wasn't worried. She'd sent 15. She still held the code violation, and the zoning vote for the new showroom was 3 weeks out. She had Priya file an anonymous complaint about commercial activity in a residential zone. An inspector came, found Marcus's business license already filed and current. He'd held a small resale permit for years for exactly this kind of work and left with nothing to report. Renata escalated again. A letter claiming his listings needed a second-hand dealer endorsement he didn't have. Marcus called a lawyer, Nadia Reyes-Ose, recommended by Yuki. Nadia found the claim didn't apply to restored antiques sold as refurbished goods under his existing permit and sent a 2-paragraph letter that ended it. Piece by piece, the lot cleared. A shaker-style desk went for $900. A set of dining chairs, re-glued and re-upholstered, sold as a set for $2,400. One wrought tin cabinet, worse off than it looked, sold for only $300. The one lost Marcus noted without comment in his ledger. Then there was the armoire. Marcus didn't touch it until piece 11 was done. He set up 2 work lights and stood in front of it, and when Theo asked why he was just looking, Marcus said some things deserve a proper introduction before you start taking them apart. He spent 16 days on it, stripping 5 coats of house paint down to bare walnut, rebuilding a drawer mechanism no hardware store carried parts for anymore, replacing glass, hand-rubbing a finish that took 4 separate sittings to cure right. Underneath the paint, the wood held a color he hadn't expected, a deep red-black walnut with a grain pattern almost nobody made anymore, because almost nobody could source the wood anymore. Yuki connected him with a collector in Chicago who dealt in early workshop furniture. The collector paid $22,000 for it without negotiating, once he saw Marcus's photographs and provenance notes. He arranged shipping the same week. While Marcus worked, he'd also been reading, not about wood, about Cole and Vance. Public filings, tax disclosures, 2 commercial loans taken out to fund the new showroom push. Nadia helped him read the numbers straight. Cole and Vance was carrying $3.1 million in variable rate debt from a regional bank, with a covenant tied to quarterly revenue targets. They'd missed the target twice running. The 3rd quarter was closing in 3 weeks. Marcus asked Nadia one question: whether a bank facing a covenant breach could sell the note at a discount to reduce its risk. She said yes, typically at a 7 to 15% discount, depending on the borrower's outlook. He asked her to find out if the bank holding Cole and Vance's note was considering it. She said she'd make calls. The town council met on the 2nd Tuesday of the month, as always, with the Route 4 rezoning proposal on the agenda. Renata arrived with Priya and 2 lawyers, dressed like someone expecting a formality. The room was fuller than usual. Alder Creek's paper had been running the story since the furniture first appeared. Marcus came in a plain jacket, without Theo. Renata presented the rezoning plan and, reaching the final holdout parcel, named Marcus's shop directly as the last obstacle to a fully consolidated commercial corridor. Marcus stood when the floor opened for comment. He said, without raising his voice, that he wasn't selling, that his wife had chosen that lot with him, that his son had grown up in the workshop behind it, and that there wasn't a number for it. Then he said he had a different proposal. He wanted to buy Cole and Vance's flagship Route 4 store outright, at fair appraised value, keeping every current employee under their existing terms, closing within 60 days. He'd already secured financing. He reached into his jacket and set a small scrap of walnut, sanded smooth, the wood from the armoire's first test cut, on the table in front of him, and sat back down. Renata stood across the room without an answer ready for the first time in longer than anyone could remember. She said, after a pause, that she'd consider it. As the room emptied, she caught him near the door and said she was surprised, not by the offer, but by the fact that he'd never once tried to embarrass her through any of it. Not the furniture, not the complaints, not the code notices. Marcus said it hadn't been necessary. She'd handled the embarrassing part herself. The sale closed 38 days later. The Route 4 store became Reyes and Son Furniture Restoration. Every employee kept on the terms they'd had before. Renata, as part of the deal, took a standing Tuesday consulting slot. Her supplier relationships were worth more than pride, and both of them knew it. There was no warmth between them yet, but there was something steadier than warmth. Each one knowing exactly what the other brought to the table. On a Saturday 3 weeks after closing, Marcus brought Theo through the whole building. Showroom, workshop, the back office that still smelled like the previous owner's coffee machine. Theo asked if it was theirs now. Marcus crouched down and told him it was theirs, and everyone who worked there, and that his job now was to take care of both. Theo nodded, then pointed out a loose extension cord across the shop floor as a trip hazard. Marcus had it taped down within the hour. That evening, back at the house on Birch Hollow, Marcus let himself into the workshop and stood a while in front of the old dovetailed case that had been his grandfather's. He'd told Dale once that he was saving one particular piece for Theo, a small side table he'd built from the very first plank of walnut left over from the armoire, finished in a red-black stain that matched it exactly. That much was true. What he hadn't said was that Elena had once run her hand over a piece of wood like that in a shop in Manila, years before Theo was born, and said if she ever had a table of her own, that was the wood she'd want. He turned off the light, locked the door, and went in to start dinner. 9 years is enough time for a town to decide what a man is before he's shown them otherwise. Some in Alder Creek would say Marcus outsmarted Renata Cole. Others would say he simply took what she handed him and refused to let it break. Neither version quite covered it. What actually happened was quieter than either story. A man who'd been underestimated kept doing exactly what he always did, carefully, without hurry, until it turned out to be more than enough.